1.
Welcome back to Ghost Powered Entertainment. I'm your host, Kainan Becker, and today I review Phantasm II, the second of the Phantasm series. Phantasm II definitely expands upon the story, but it doesn't seem to have the same heart that Phantasm had. However, in rewatching it, I did feel like I liked it a lot more than I used to. I remember always thinking how bad of a movie this was, with bad acting and etc. But in rewatching it this time around, I felt a lot better about it. The basic plot of this one is Michael's been in a insane asylum basically for the last 8 years. And he gets out by basically bullshitting because he still believes that all this stuff that happened in the first movie happened to him. He basically finds Reggie. Reggie doesn't believe what the deal is. Some stuff goes down and basically puts them on the road. Reggie finally believes. Him and Michael decide they got to hunt down Tall Man because he's killed everyone they love, or at least taken them away in one way or another, and they got to track him down. Michael finds mentally he's connected to this girl who he's falling in love with, but they've never actually met. They're just psychically connected because she can see Tall Man too. That part of the story to me is pretty lame, but whatever. I mean, for the most part, this story and the way this movie's done is actually pretty cool. So you can't complain too much, but that part, like I said, is kind of hokey. But anyway, basically they end up tracking down this girl. They run across this girl more than track her down, and they basically go on this trip trying to hunt down Tall Man, trying to stop Tall Man, and that's basically the story. A few little twists and turns, but that's basically what the script is. The main female character's acting is abysmal at best. It makes you laugh out loud at times, it's bad. But aside from her, most of the acting is actually really well done. I'm not a big fan of them replacing the actor who plays Michael from the original, but he does do a decent job. But I do know that they replace him and go back to the original actor in the third one. So that to me makes the third one better just in that element. But the actor that does play Michael in this, he still does do a pretty good job. He's likable for the most part. But you got to remember, when this was done, it has a very cheese factor to it. Late 80s, early 90s era of movies, and this one's 88, I believe. I'm not a big fan of any type of CGI stuff that was done at this time. It's really bad. But luckily, this movie mostly uses practical effects. I don't know if it's because of budget, and at the time CGI was pretty expensive stuff, or what, but they do mostly use practical effects. There is a little bit of CGI here and there, but nothing major. There's not a lot of parts that really make you cringe and oh god, For the most part, this movie's fun. There are some really iconic, really fun scenes. To me, one of my favorite scenes is when they're creating weapons in this shop, basically, and Reggie builds this amazing triple-barreled shotgun. It's in this pyramid shape. It's so sick. He only uses it one time in the movie though. I feel like this weapon should have been used a bunch throughout the movie. I thought that would have been awesome. But he does get this one really awesome shot where he blows away these little munchkins at the bottom of the staircase. And that's very, very cool. It's a really fun scene. And then Michael builds this really badass flamethrower thing that he runs around with wearing this face shield. And that's very fun. Tall Man is fantastic again in this movie. Tall Man kind of is really what always, to me, makes the Phantasm series worth watching and makes them fun. I just love him. This movie still captures that creepy, dreamlike state where you're never quite sure if what you're watching is part of a dream, part of someone's imagination, or is reality. And I love that about these movies, that they really hang on to that element. That's the thing that kind of really makes them what they are. But this one just somehow lost a little bit of that poetic kind of feel to me that the original has. Maybe it's the era that it was made. I'm not sure. But that one didn't feel cheesy to me. That one, to me, has this really cool, way that the pacing goes in it that just gives it this really poetic feel. Whereas the sequel, this one, Phantasm II, it's cheapened. It doesn't feel like it has that same pacing. It feels like they try to make it faster and more upbeat, and I have a feeling that has to do with, the money backing behind this. They wanted to make it a little more of that action, exciting type of horror movies that was being done in the late 80s, like Friday the 13th and all the Freddy stuff, and just had that more upbeat, exciting thing going that I really think probably were pushing on this. Because it does have a lot more action. That's great, and it is exciting. But to me, I felt like losing that pacing is what really made the original Phantasm so great to me. So by doing away with that, you really kind of lose a lot of that charm. But there's a couple really cheesy, really silly scenes in this. One of my favorites is there's this sex scene where this girl's riding Reggie going all crazy, but she's still wearing her fucking panties. It's hilarious. It is awesome, awesome, awesome. Another scene that just had me laughing out loud was when Michael flips the Cuda, right? I love that car, and it kills me every time they destroy one. And they've destroyed quite a few over the series. And I love that car so much. But anyway, he flips the Cuda, right? Somehow, they don't even show it. Somehow he's thrown clear by quite a ways of the Cuda. And I mean, this thing flips and lands on its top, right? But somehow he's thrown clear. And you see Michael over on the ground. He gets up. Not even dirty. They didn't even dirty up his clothes. Not a scratch on him. Perfectly fine. Walks over to the car. And inside is Reggie. Still seatbelted upside down. Just a bloody fucking mess. He's all fucked up. And they save him or whatever, and then the car explodes like every Hollywood movie. A car has always got to explode from any damage whatsoever, which is another thing that's hilarious about the original. One of my favorite things is when the tall man drives the hearse into that telephone pole and it immediately blows up in this huge explosion. Have you ever seen a car rear end something? There's sometimes a little steam from the radiator at most, but definitely never explodes, so... But you gotta love that about Hollywood, especially in the 80s and 90s. The 2000s, things started getting a little more realistic, but back then, always explosions. Every car accident somehow ended up in this giant ball of flames. But this movie definitely leans into the more action, like I was saying, and the humor, campy quality. I feel like they definitely felt like this is more where this movie would fit. And so they really went and leaned into that. There's a lot more funny scenes, whereas the original had some humorous scenes, but they weren't necessarily meant to be humorous. This one, you could tell they're purposely going with the fact that they don't have a very big budget, that they don't have the greatest special effects, that things look kind of hokey and silly, and they really lean into that. And there's a lot more really fun humor because of that. And they do a really good job of that, in my opinion. And I think that's part of what made me like this movie a lot more now in my rewatch. Is getting the humor now and enjoying the humor now, which I didn't, in the past when I've watched this movie. One of the scenes that really showed me the humor and made me just laugh, and I just love it, is there's a chainsaw fight. Basically, Reggie pulls out a chainsaw, another dude pulls out this big old chainsaw, and it's just so funny and just awesome. They basically are sword fighting with chainsaws. It's awesome. Really great scene, but definitely funny and definitely meant to be hokey and funny. But to wrap this up, I recommend this movie. Especially if you love the original, I think you'll still really enjoy this one. At the end, after I've reviewed all 5 of these movies, I'll rank them. So at this point, I won't tell you where I rank the second one in my, Phantasm rankings. But I can definitely tell you that I do really enjoy this movie, and it is a fun watch. Like I said, especially if you love the original. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please crush that like button. Remember, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.